So everybody's talking about this whole Diet Coke and fries from McDonald's migraine hack. And so the question then becomes, does this actually work if you're somebody who deals with energy lulls, migraines, headaches, lack of motivation to do much later in the day? Is this really a hack? Let's talk about it. So first things first, we have to understand that McDonald's is probably not going to be your best choice for much besides maybe a treat meal once in a while or something that you just crave once in a while. I'll never forget, back in the day when I was actually doing bodybuilding competitions back in 2007 and 2009, a McDonald's burger and fries was my go-to cheat meal. And it was also the meal that I ate right after getting off stage in the morning with what you call prejudging in a bodybuilding competition that I would eat then prior to going to the night show, and it would massively transform my physique. Now, why am I telling you this? Because this leads us to this discussion around why this whole fries and Diet Coke combination is working for people who deal with migraines. Let's break this down and answer the question as to whether or not this works. Now, the first thing we have to understand is what is actually inside fries and a Diet Coke. Let's start with the Diet Coke because I think this is probably the easiest to understand. First of all, a Diet Coke technically has no calories. So they've removed all the sugar that has calories from carbohydrates, and they've replaced it with artificial sweeteners that taste exactly like the Diet or the regular Coke or pretty close to it. I personally love the taste of Diet Coke. Some people hate it, but Diet Coke has been a staple in my craving killers routine, which, by the way, if you want a copy of all my top craving killers, I will put that together for you. All you have to do is comment the words craving killer below if you're trying to lose body fat and struggle with cravings. I'll drop the link to get that, plus a number of other resources. That being said, Diet Coke has no calories. Now, what does it also have that might be leading to help with migraines? Well, there is some water in Diet Coke. So if you are underhydrated or maybe even really dehydrated, Diet Coke contains water. Now, this might not be the shocking news you were hoping for, and don't worry, I have some, I'd say, rather interesting stuff here in a bit around why this actually, I think, potentially could work, but there's some caveats. Water is included. Now, what else is included in Diet Coke? We have caffeine. Now, caffeine is a performance enhancer. So if someone is dealing with brain fog or a headache, or in some cases an extreme headache like a migraine, or a lack of energy, a lack of motivation, caffeine can wake you up. It can get you out of a slumber. This is one of my go-to craving killers for this exact reason. So not only does Diet Coke have no calories, which is nice when you're trying to lose fat and you're trying to replace some of the calories maybe you had before from liquids like Coke or any kind of soda. You replace those calories, so now you're eating or drinking, in this case, no calories, and you're taking in some caffeine maybe at lunchtime, when in the afternoon in the previous years or months or days or whatever, you had an energy slump. Now you're getting a boost to energy from the performance enhancement that happens when you drink caffeine. Now, besides those things, we mentioned it has artificial sweeteners, it has water, it has caffeine. There is a little bit of sodium, okay, which it's not a lot, but there is a little bit of sodium in Diet Coke. And so when we aren't in balance with our electrolytes, that can cause some brain fatigue, or in this case, some major migraines and headaches. So we're starting to inch closer to why this is actually a solution for a lot of people who deal with migraines. Now, we have the diet soda figured out, okay? And once again, I'm not here to tell you to go out and start pounding Diet Coke, but I do prescribe inside of our coaching program, which, by the way, you can learn more about below, for a lot of people who deal with just Coca-Cola or soda cravings. It's a really good first step to replace those calories with diet soda because there is no calories. So that will help lead to a calorie deficit, which obviously is the first rule when it comes to fat loss. So we have the diet soda figured out. We know what's in diet soda. Yes, there's a bunch of chemicals and stuff, but in all honesty, those things are not why. Oh my gosh, I'm recording this with no edits, so I just sneezed. Hope you can forgive me and keep watching. All right, just keeping it real. Okay, so we have the diet soda. Let's talk about the French fries. Now, let's go into what is making up these French fries. Number one is carbohydrates. Okay, these French fries are from potatoes. So all carbohydrates, when ingested in the body, get broken down and turned into glucose or sugar. In the case where we need that glucose and sugar for energy and performance, the body will then utilize those carbohydrates for that purpose. If we don't need them, they'll be stored either as glucose or sugar inside of different cells, like the muscle cells and whatnot, or inside the liver in some cases, or just stored as fat if we have an excess of calories. And this is where a lot of people run into energy balance problems because they're just taking in too many calories. So the carbohydrates and, of course, the fat, which we're talking about in a second, get stored for future use in the form of body fat. And that leads to carrying way too much fat because we eat way too much. Now, French fries also are fried. So there's, of course, a lot of oil and fat that comes with French fries. So when people are dealing with migraines, okay, sometimes it's a case of being lacking in certain nutrients. Some cases, there's a lack of glucose. There is, in some cases, a lack of fat. And so when we take in caffeine from the soda, water from the soda, sodium, and a ton of sodium from French fries, carbs, and fats, we're now replenishing maybe some lack of nutrients and a lack of electrolytes and a lack of performance enhancement like caffeine. It's a perfect storm. My argument, why this is working so well for a lot of people, it's really the sodium and caffeine. So when people are lacking sodium and they take in a bunch, because there is a bunch in French fries and diet soda, well, all of a sudden the brain swelling and the pain that comes from having a migraine can be reduced because sodium especially has been shown to help with that. So this isn't really shocking to me. What's kind of funny though is people are just a little bit behind the curve when it comes to the power of sometimes spontaneous ingestion of these high fat, high calorie, high sodium foods. I'll go back to what I was talking about earlier when it came to bodybuilding. So oftentimes when I was bodybuilding and getting super shredded, there were times where I was super depleted and I would get a headache and I would get really run down. Now, I hired coaches back then who, to be honest, were following a lot of bro science, a lot of nonsense. But one of our go-to methodologies was when we were severely depleted, severely run down, they would say, go have a burger, fries, and Diet Coke from McDonald's. Why? Because it's a fast way to get a ton of sodium, get some water from the soda, get some caffeine to make you feel better, get a ton of fat, obviously a ton of carbs. And it's just a quick way to replenish really all the things that are going to help you feel better. So once again, I'm not shocked by this. Now, the next question is, should you do this? Like if you're someone who experiences headaches and migraines or a lack of energy, should you just like make McDonald's your nearest, your go-to stop for these rough moments? I would say probably not. Okay. What I would say a good first start would be is to double check and get blood work and make sure that your blood work looks good. Make sure that you're eating enough. Make sure that you're getting enough electrolytes. Okay, it's not just sodium, magnesium, potassium. You need all three. And there is a balance that takes place when you're ingesting all three. So you need to make sure you're getting enough from healthy foods. I'm not saying to stop eating McDonald's forever. I'm saying we need to probably cut back, if anything, on McDonald's for most people. However, I would say, look, at the end of the day, if you are following a healthy food diet, most of the time you're controlling your calories and you're getting enough nutrients from healthy whole foods, having McDonald's on occasion, not a terrible thing. In fact, I have a Diet Coke from McDonald's on its own on a relatively frequent basis. I would say a few times a month. Now, the reason for that, I enjoy it. It's that simple. I enjoy it. Is it the healthiest thing on planet Earth? Absolutely not. Is it better than having a regular soda? I would say yes for my goals. I would say yes for most people's goals, which is maintain a healthy, lean physique, don't ingest a ton of empty calories, and have strategic times where you have enjoyment so that you don't go insane and you actually live like a normal person. Once again, I've put together a list of craving killers that will help you battle through cravings, situations where you want something, but you know it's going to throw you off your diet, throw you off your fat loss plan. And I'll happily give it to you for free. Just comment craving killers below and I'll send it to you. That being said, I've coached a lot of people over the past 15 years. Well over 7,500 customers have either gone through our coaching program, purchased a program or course from us and been a part of some challenges that we used to run. So I've worked with a lot of people. So for a lot of folks dealing with headaches, salty, high calorie caffeine, sometimes even some sugar, once again coming from the fries, can be a quick way to put a migraine on hold. Is it a long-term solution? I would say no. I would say it's not. You need to look deeper. You need to understand why it's happening on a regular basis. Are you properly fed? Are you getting enough electrolytes? Are you taking care of yourself, right? Are you moving enough? Are you sleeping enough? Are you training properly? These are all things that, if not done on a regular basis, can lead to health issues like headaches, like migraines, and even things like maybe aren't as extreme, like lack of energy, lack of motivation. So we need to do some more research around why this is happening. But I will just say, at the end of the day, migraines suck. There's no way around it. If we're getting some relief from the soda and the fry combination from McDonald's, well, that's a sign that we're lacking in the areas that I mentioned. We're lacking in our hydration. We're lacking in our electrolytes. We're probably not getting the right amount of carbs and fats to support your goals. And so we need to have a revamp. We need to understand what's going on. How can we avoid this long term so we don't have to rely on stuff like eating a bunch of McDonald's crappy food to get past this? But, I'm never going to demonize foods, especially things like McDonald's. I'm just going to tell you it's probably not my number one choice. Could it work for specific instances like the occasional treat meal, a severe migraine where there's not much else around and you need something fast? Or just plain old enjoying a meal from McDonald's and moving on with your life and sticking to healthy stuff 90% of the time. Of course, McDonald's can work great. But like I said, I think there's better choices. So let me know if this helped. If you have any questions or you're looking to completely transform your life, that's where our True Transformation program comes into play. We start with fitness because for most people, that's the area where they've not been paying enough attention. They've put things on the back burner. Because look, I get it, as a high performer, as a father, as a husband, as someone who just puts a lot of effort into a lot of things outside of themselves, fitness can be on the back burner, or heck, it can even be in the parking lot. That's how far it can be left behind if you're not careful. So we have, over the past 15 years, have helped over 7,500 people conquer their fitness goals and live the rest of their life in a lifestyle-friendly way, lean, healthy, in shape. Happy to share more with you. Check out the description below. In the meantime, comment craving killers. I'll send you my absolute top 10 craving killers that I know work like a charm every single time. Be careful with that McDonald's stuff. Don't eat too much of it. Life moves fast. Make it count. Talk to you soon.